G'day everyone, how you going? It's Dom Italiano here, host of the Sustainable Creative Show. This is episode number 13 with Mitch Power. Mitch is a singer, songwriter, guitarist, troubadour extraordinaire, purveyor of fine hats, comedian. He's a lovely guy with a great sense of humour. You'll totally see from this conversation why he's in such high demand as a session guitarist, a touring guitarist, and also, a travelling companion for other musicians. So, although he does explain how he manages to fit it all in sustainably, I'm still baffled and in awe of how he manages to keep it all together. It's super impressive and it's a lovely conversation. So, hope you enjoy this one. Next week we've got Kat Lay, a drummer, musician from Melbourne as well, and so I look forward to presenting that conversation with you. In the meantime, do all the things with the social medias, the likes and the follows and the subscribe to the podcast. The feedback so far is that people are really enjoying these conversations, so that's great, so I'm enjoying them too. So I'll see you next week. Enjoy. Bye bye. Mitch Power.
Dom Italiano.
Thank you for having me at your house.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here.
To be on this episode of the Sustainable Creative Show, which still makes me laugh when I say the Sustainable Creative Show.
Well,
show.
There's big production value going on here.
There's certainly I could be sponsored by Apple.
You could.
Yeah.
You should.
I would like that.
We'll sort it out.
All right.
Yeah.
Have you got people?
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah. But,
Next thing it'll be like me with a bag of Granny Smiths.
Yeah. I've got an Apple guy. Yeah.
Apples.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Get us some Fuji's. Totally.
What's your favourite apple?
Definitely Granny Smiths.
Yeah.
Yeah. All about the Granny Smiths.
Was toffee apples ever a part of your childhood?
No. I feel like...
What about the confectionery toffee apple? Did you ever have those?
Not really. You know, just OG apple, just plain, just straight from the tree.
I'm 41, which means that my primary and high school years were still like the prime years of you could get anything you wanted at the canteen. Like it was just sugar. It was just sugar.
Yeah.
So all these like things like snap crackles, like that were like 10, 15, 20 cents. Curly Whirlies, things like
Classic,
that. Yeah. The furry friends, the little Cadbury things. Yeah, so all that kind of stuff. So the toffee apple was a favourite.
I think ours is more the sunny boy kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah. Where did you grow up?
Mostly in Melbourne, but 3 years in Brizzy as well when I was in primary school. Yeah. Yeah, so sunny boys when it's warm,
okay.
definitely.
My primary school, I was born in the UK and I came here for started grade 4 and we didn't have a canteen in primary school. It was a Catholic school, a brand new Catholic school, so they didn't have that set up yet. But my high school was a Catholic boys' school.
Excellent.
And oh my God, the junk food in that place. it was nothing good. It was amazing. Like early 90s, the food we could get. Yeah. And what's really interesting about that is how just later on in life, it's been so hard for me to eat well. Because just for that first however many years of my life.
Just blame your education.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. But even that as a not knowing any better. Like, so, I feel hungry. Like, you couldn't buy an apple at school. So you didn't even think about it. You're just like, so then when you...
toffee apple. That was
the toffee apple.
Yeah.
So then when you got out of school, like, it was like, as a young man who had my own money out in the world, you're like, it was never a concept to me that I had to eat well.
You can't buy health food. That doesn't make sense.
Silly.
Yeah.
You couldn't, when I say, as a young man, like 20 years ago, it was much harder.
I think I was sort of getting on the cusp of schools starting to think about, maybe we shouldn't just have sausage rolls and pies and all that stuff. Maybe we could have some sandwiches or some kind of roll type situation.
Yeah, you could get a lunch order and they would make you a salad roll or something like that. But then why would you ever do that when you could have a meat pie or a sausage roll?
And that also kind of, didn't you have to get your order in at like the start of the week? So on a Monday you had to go, right, on Friday, I'm going to want an egg and salad roll on Friday. Wasn't that the kind of vibe?
Not at our school.
Yeah, right.
You had to do it before school. You had to get in like before school and like put your money on your right on your paper bag what you were going to have. But I think there are. Well, I don't know, but there were certainly schools. I did hear of the lunch order, which is like a Tuesday and a Friday or kind of thing.
I seem to remember that being a thing when I was in primary school. At least, you had to get it in days in advance, and Just sort of some forethought.
Imagine that kind of plan. This is exactly what this conversation is going to end up like. It's going to go off on tangents. They always go off on tangents or start on a tangent, which is better.
Definitely what it's done. Yeah.
But interestingly, I think they always roll back into like what it is sustainable creative. Like when we were kids, we had to plan what we were going to have a lunch order, right? And nowadays, like you get to be an adult, you're like, that's right, planning. As a creative person, right, I got to get that together. Yeah,
for sure.
So now that we've been talking for a few minutes, this is the preamble for anyone that's listening. You are a singing guitar player,
correct?
And I'd make the distinction because some people are guitar playing singers, and the way I see you is you quite often perform as a guitar player for other people.
Yeah.
And you obviously play guitar and sing your own stuff and you sing with other people, but I may be wrong, but you do a lot of being the guitar guy for people.
Yeah. In that case, I guess the distinction would be I'm a guitar playing singer in that instance. I definitely started with the guitar. That was my first port of call when I was about 12.
Yep. Same.
And there you go, twins.
What was your first song that you learnt? Do you remember?
It was Aerials by System of a Down.
That's cool.
It's a weird choice. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's way cooler than mine. I'm pretty sure it's Every Rose Has Its Thorn, mine.
Good.
Yeah.
See, that's much better. I would rather that have been my first song.
Oh, really?
Just from like where my musical tastes have ended up.
Okay.
Definitely much more power ballads than heavy new metal kind of vibe. But you got to start somewhere. So it was Aerials by System of a Down, and
that's good.
Drop D, mate. One finger. That's all you need.
Mate. I used to do so. I was doing cover bands around about the time that when System of a Down, were big, and I had the singer used to write the set list, and he would just kind of go, "This is how I think it's good to flow." It was like, oh, great, that's a drop D tuning. Now I have to tune back up, then back down.
Yeah.
I just for the 11 or so months I was in the band, 9 of those months I played the whole gig in drop D. I learned everything. I just worked out how to play Footloose in drop D because it would go from that to Shine by Collective Soul, and then from that back to Faith, and the Limp Bizkit's version of Faith kind of thing. So
good.
So
classic guitar player problems.
Yeah, and so what's interesting for me now is like quite often I still do gigs in like drop D because
just easy.
Or I've even done that thing where it's in standard tuning and I put the capo on the 2nd fret, but just the 5 strings.
Yeah, make it
so it's a drop E.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. That's
cool.
Doing it on acoustic guitar as well just brings it open so much.
Yeah,
and
that lower tone.
Yeah, and I hate playing E shapes, like just playing in the key of E. I hate playing E shapes, like E, A, and B shapes for that, especially the country kind of stuff. So to me, putting just when I'm doing my solo singer-songwriter thing.
Yeah,
okay. Well, so I feel like those kind of shapes close off the guitar a lot, like an A and a B.
I really agree. Yeah. Now, do you feel that way about finger picking more than strumming?
I feel like it's about both, I reckon.
Yeah, okay.
So I've always found if I'm writing something and it's in E, I will do the capo 2nd fret with the open 6th string and play like D shapes and keep it there. That's
really cool that you bring that up because I'm very aware of that as well about on my EP that I did earlier in the year, nothing's in a normal tuning.
Good.
That's not true. So some things are in a normal tuning, but for example, it's tuned down to the lowest, so it's standard, but it's standard in C sharp.
Yeah, right.
And so the key of the song is in E, but I'm playing G shapes.
Yeah.
And then the other guitar is in standard tuning with the capo on the 4th fret playing C shapes. So it's just that little bit different because of the voicing, because otherwise all the voicings sound the same.
Yep.
And quite often you want to be singing like around this, whatever's comfortable for your voice, sometimes around the same key. But if you play everything in the same voicing,
everything sounds...
Yeah, it's cool that you do that too.
I think I kind of got started on it because I was playing with a lot of singer-songwriters when still do, but I first kind of started doing it when I was about like 15, 16, 17, in that sort of ballpark, and was always big on watching what they're doing and saying, all right, cool, they're playing these shapes in that key. I'll put the capo on somewhere else, or just get out of the way a little bit. Because if you've got two guitar players on stage, both of them playing the same thing, what's the point of the second one being there? You know. So my thing was always like, all right, cool. Well, that's what they're playing. I want to do that bit differently. So I have a reason for being here, and it adds to what's going on. You know?
Oh, I'm totally with you. Totally with you. And I do a lot of duo gigs in the cover scene, and it's very much the same thing. Unless, of course, if you don't know the song. So someone else is playing, and it's like, I'm just following your hands. And I'm following your hands. And sometimes I try to follow hands and transpose, but you can't help it if they're playing a C in their capo on the second fret. Like, it's really hard to play a D chord. When you see it.
It does trick you a little bit. You just got to start thinking numbers. That's the way
well,
around
that's certainly,
that.
I can do that. I can read a chart, I could read a chord chart and transpose because I can think in numbers. If I'm watching someone's hands, it's really hard to see a C chord and play a different chord. It's like, oh.
I remember one gig I did this a couple of years ago. I think it was with Matt Alford and Andrew Swift and myself at the retreat, and we were just going like song for song, and all three of us were on stage together, and we're playing one of Matt's songs, and he was just kind of strumming along, and you know, none of us had played each other's songs before. We're just calling it, and he's like, I just play on it if you want, you know, and so he was playing a song, and then I think he snapped like his E or A string, so he just lost it completely, and then he just kept singing, but was just holding up fingers. And just
awesome.
Then I just took over and just watched him, and he's just like holding up fingers and stuff, and we just got through the rest of the song. And he's like, "Man, I don't know how that just happened, but singing and holding up numbers and stuff,
That's
it was
cool.
just this. But yeah, it was a fun little vibe that we got to do.
That's really cool. So many of my songs are in like some modal thing, like, so I don't know how I would do that.
Lucky this was country, and all you need is 3 chords. So.
1, 4, 5, and the occasional -6.
That's it. Done.
Love it. So let me ask you a little bit. I've got some questions. But so you obviously you do your own. You play your own music, and you play with other people. You play with other people all the time. I imagine constantly learning other repertoire. And how often do you sort of roll up to the gig with, like, to play for someone else, and they're less prepared than you think, like maybe less, like you think they're going to be like playing guitar, they're like, oh no, I don't really play. Does that happen very much? Because I've had a few experiences like, oh, will you come and like play guitar in my band, and I'm expecting them to drive the gig, and they don't. They're like, no, I know the lyrics to my songs, but you have to tell me when I'm coming in.
No, for the most part, it's like people that are asking me to play gigs for them have, for the most part, gotten it all together. It's been a few corporate gigs I've done where it's been a bit like that, where the instrumentation hasn't been clearly laid out what's going to happen, and I'm going there expecting, you know, a keys player in a band, and you get there and it's you and a bongo player, and like, oh cool, I'm holding down everything. Oh sweet, awesome. Okay. But yeah, for the 99% of the people that are booking me for gigs are very clear about what's going to happen, and they need to be, because it's their name on the poster they're putting on the show. If an organizational thing falls through the cracks and that means the gig's not good, well then obviously it's going to look bad for me, because I'm going to be sticking out like a busted thumb, but also it's not going to be a good gig. And at the end of the day, their name's on the poster, not mine. Yes. So they're always making sure that, right, this is what we're doing. Here's Dropbox, here's charts,
That's great.
Yeah. Which is, most of the time that kind of happens. Sometimes it doesn't. And, the first few times that happens where people are like, oh, here's, this is what we're doing. Here's a set list. We'll see you at the gig. It's like, charts? No?
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
But I just find it, if I have to write the charts myself, I end up learning the songs a lot
better
more.
Anyway.
And find myself, I'll write the charts, I'll play the songs a couple of times, and then I'll end up not needing the charts.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a, there's pros and cons to both of it. It means I've got to do more work and do more prep time, but the gig ends up being better because
Bit
I've
more
done
flowy for you. You can just kind of ease into it.
Yeah.
So let me backtrack a bit because these guys obviously don't know, but this is the first time we've met, even though we are familiar from the world of social media. This is, I think things like Facebook Live and are about as social as social media gets. But this is, for me, is the really good thing about social media is when, you see someone play a gig somewhere and you're like, oh, I wonder who that guitar player is, and you find out who it is and you start following them and then they release something, you go, oh, cool. Like, I really love that social media opens up those possibilities.
Definitely. Yeah.
But like, I don't know that much because I don't know you really well. I don't know that much about your backstory and
yet how you've trusted me enough to come into my house. This is good. This is.
Yeah. Well, yes, I do. Yeah. You definitely come across as someone who can be trusted.
Well, I've certainly had my fair share of strangers let me into their houses after gigs and put me up for the night. Yeah. So it's a
reciprocal arrangement.
Yeah.
So like me, you started guitar when you were about 12 or so.
Yeah. So I picked up a guitar when I was 12, and then very, very quickly realised that was going to be the thing that I really wanted to do. And my parents were really supportive and really helpful with all that kind of stuff, and got me gear, and I got into a band very quickly in high school with some mates of mine, and we had like a Kiss tribute band going on. Oh, that's cool. I missed the Kiss train. Oh, mate, I was huge. I'd stayed home sick from school one day, and we had back when Optus had cable TV, so we had like Optus cable and
Optus TV.
Yeah. And I was just lying on the couch flicking through channels, and this movie came on. It was like four guys in high school standing around the
Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, Detroit Rock City.
Edward Furlong.
Yeah. And
I haven't seen it.
Dude, get on it.
I projected it at the cinema. Right. I remember working.
Yeah.
Was it maybe like 99?
How old was... this was about, I was 12 or 13, so I was 88. So what's that, 2000, 2001?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I remember... You know, it's funny. I was at a meeting today at my old place of work at the cinema, which is where I remember projecting. I remember putting it on in Cinema 8.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I remember distinctly putting it on. Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, for those that haven't seen it, it's about four high school guys who were in a Kiss tribute band and all had tickets to go see Kiss, and it was all about, them getting to see Kiss and all the kind of misfortunes that happened along the way. But I'd never heard of Kiss. I didn't know what was going on, and then at the end, the band comes on, and it's just this huge fireworks and blood spitting and makeup and outfits and just this crazy music. And it's just like a 12, 13-year-old who parents had a music taste including and limited to like the Bee Gees and Tina Arena and Reba McEntire. It was kind of like, what is this?
Yeah, right. Such a contrast.
Yeah, big time. And I was hooked just right there.
That's cool.
And my best mate at the time, he'd about 6-month head start on me in terms of playing guitar. And
I had one of those too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he was like, this is a major scale. I was like, oh, that what? Like, I didn't know what a scale was.
Yeah. So he was a little bit into Kiss as well, and we just got right into it. And he'd come around to my place after school. We'd just go down to the music house at lunchtimes and just sit down and play guitar, and just spend weekends playing guitar. And then we got the band together of like my three best mates, and we all just played Kiss songs.
Totally the same thing.
Oh man, it was great. Played some Battle of the Bands and stuff, and like we won a couple towards the end of high school, and then we
have a mirrored life.
This is great.
Yeah,
I love it.
I didn't do Kiss, but we were like Alice in Chains.
Yeah, right.
And stuff. We were just because we were a bit older.
Yeah, you got about 10 years on me. Yeah. But we had a great time, and and then towards the end of high school, we all kind of realized that this wasn't going to go past high school. It was just going to be a high school thing for the other guys. So we just hired a place and put on a big final gig.
Oh, cool.
We got one of our mates, like a mate's band called Paranoid. They're a couple of years younger, but they were doing like a very similar thing. They had same kind of music taste, and we'd been playing in battles of the bands with them and stuff now and at that time. And so we just got them to come down and support, and we did the gig and just had this big party, and then everyone just came back to my place. And
we were still very much like thought that our band could stay together, our high school band, and we couldn't. Yeah.
I'm glad that we were realistic about what was happening. But I mean, in hindsight, because I went to St. Bede's down in Mentone, and that had like the pedigree of like Jet was
cool.
Most, if not all, of those boys were St. Bede's boys, and then a couple of years later, all the British India guys were at the same school, and then kind of there's a few bands in the year above us, and then we were kind of coming through, and we're like, yeah, see, this is the thing, like the school's like got it. But yeah, towards the end of the year, just realized bass player and the drummer were just kind of very much going on different paths to being musical. So we were just like, all right, stick a fork in it, let's call it. That's and just have a big gig. And then, so I finished up, and then I started teaching guitar very quickly after that, and was, teaching a lot. And then went to VCA and studied there and did the Bachelor of Music Improvisation, and that was great. Met some amazing people and had some really, really cool guitar teachers. And my high school guitar teacher, a guy called Tom Martin, he was just incredible for like just opening up a whole world of different guitar playing styles. And he's amazing. Plays in bands like the Putbacks and the Bombay Royale and stuff. And he got me into a band called Deep Street Soul, which I still play with. And he had like a few gigs with them, and they wanted him to go, I think, be in the band full time, but he didn't have time. So it's like, I know about this guy. And so I went in, auditioned, and then, got that gig. And then I think like a year later, we're touring Europe and playing at Glastonbury and that kind of thing, and doing this cool shit. And I was, I think, 23 or 24 or 25 or something at that stage. So it all just sort of happened like relatively quickly to be like just playing around town and then getting into that band and then just touring Europe. And
that's cool.
It was awesome. It was great. We had really, really good experiences, and I was playing with Deep Street, got me into playing with Kylie Aldist and doing a lot of shows with her, and playing with a lot of like funk and soul bands, and I was having the time of my life, but I was quite young comparatively to everyone else that was doing it, because they were in the late 40s or late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, some of them, and it was a really good experience, and like getting to do all that kind of stuff at that level very quickly, and
with people who would probably be able to give you some like cool insight into like, do this, don't do that.
Yeah. Well,
or do this. do this.
Yeah. No, it was all really good. Like, Kylie especially, she was always, she was my road mum, and because I think technically speaking could be a child.
Yeah, right. Just age difference.
Yeah. And so she was always like looking after me and stuff, but still get me beers all the time. But just looking after me, but still get me beers all the time. And but it was just a great experience, and like it was really good to do that with people that had done it before, and cause, like the novelty had sort of worn off a little bit. So though it was more about, all right, this is what we need to do to get everything done. This is when we can push it and have a few beers and have a night, but then we need to back it off, and this is when we got to get a job done. So which I think was really a really good thing for me to learn very quickly, because then going off and doing my own tours and organising all of that stuff meant I knew the times when, all right, this is when you can get a bit of sleep, because nothing exciting is going to happen. You're not going to miss out on anything. And these are the nights where you can't have anything to drink, because we've got to be up at 5 or 6 or whatever. And it's like, but this is the night where we've only got an hour to drive tomorrow, and we don't have to leave until after lunch. So if we're going to have a night, this is the night. And it makes those nights sort of a lot better, because, you haven't done that 4, 5, 6 nights in a row.
It's planning your lunch order.
Exactly. It's getting your lunch order in on Monday. Yeah, it's all about lunch orders.
Well, it's interesting that those like cute little things that you don't think about. And you go, oh, I really learned like the Miyagi moments. You know, yeah, I guess I learned something from that scenario. Yeah, right, yeah. I tend to ask in these chats like about like cool tips. Do you have like did anyone ever say anything to you and you went, or either at the time like, oh, that's really handy, or later on you go, oh yeah, that was a really good thing that I've kept with me for a while.
I think one of the weirder ones, which at the time I thought it was a bit odd, but we're hearing someone say like, never apologise while on stage.
True.
And that's something that's always kind of stuck with me for whatever reason. But, you know, at the time I didn't really think much of it, but the more I kind of, just for some reason it stuck in there. And to me it does kind of, it makes a lot of sense now. Like, you know, if as soon as you apologise to people on stage, it just lets the audience know that you're just sort of not that in control of what's going on, or you're not that prepared for whatever reason. And that's something that an audience, I don't think, should ever really know. If you're on stage and you've got people in front of you, you should be giving a feeling to the audience that, yep, I know 100% what I'm doing. This is the exact product that I want to give across to you, and this is exactly what it is. Here you go.
Sure.
And as soon as you start to kind of to pull at that and, you know, show where the cracks are, I think that's when people can start to go like, they just sort of pull back and get a bit hesitant and sort of...
People get a bit embarrassed on your behalf, don't they?
Maybe. And just sort of like, if the cracks start to appear, then that's when people start to look for the bigger cracks, and they start to not sort of trust... They don't trust you being on stage. If you're apologising, it's like, well, why are you apologising to me? I gave you $20 to be in here, and like, you know. So I think that's one thing that's sort of stuck with me for quite a while.
I heard that too. I think even back in high school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was
mirrored lives, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. See, I knew we had an affinity somehow. Now, having said that, as a touring person, so before we pressed record, I was telling you that I did a cycle trip, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I go on holiday or I'm at someone's house, people like laugh, like, oh, and I told you about too. Well, video editing this stuff, I have to have a hard drive, right? And because hard drives you just plug in, they often get unplugged, and you don't want that to happen while you're in the middle of a project. So I've rigged up this like sticky Velcro situation, so the thing is on the back. Yeah. So we never have any issue with that. But my point being, quite often on holidays somewhere, and they're like someone will say, I need something like this. I'm like, I've got zip ties in my bag, I've got Velcro, I've got Ziploc bags. Like, my cycling journeys have taught me that just have a little kit of stuff. Yeah. And I've also always got, like in my car, I've got where the spare tire is, a spare microphone, 2 spare leads, a mic lead.
Jesus. Look at you, mate.
Like, because I did confess it a few weeks ago that I rocked up to a gig without my guitar. Now, I don't have a spare guitar in my car.
Which I did appreciate that. I enjoyed that.
And then rarely does it happen that I've never done that before, and rarely am I at a gig early enough to be able to rectify it, which I was that day. So, I would guess I'm getting to the point where you pick up these tricks along the way in your musician life of like what to have to be prepared. Like, you know, guitar teacher always says, take your spare pack of strings and some hidden picks somewhere.
Yeah, totally.
Do you have any? Because for me, it's Velcro. For me, Velcro fixes. You could like do that many things having that peel back Velcro.
Yeah.
Like stuff. It's like gaffer tape, but it can be better.
Yeah.
Do you have any cool like guitar-y things or singer things where you go, oh, that's pretty handy to have?
Look, you know what? Not really. I think like the most responsible musician thing I think I ever did was buy a 10-pack of fuses and gaffer that to the inside of my amp. You know, like, so I've always got fuses in the amp. But for the
that is good. That's like me and gaffer taping spokes to the frame
Yeah,
of my
right.
bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I've never had to replace a spoke on a bike.
Yeah.
But I
But
feel
one
like
day
it's
you
kind
will.
of voodoo-ish.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got them, you don't have to, you never need them.
That's true.
Yeah.
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 Fuses is good, otherwise you're making them out of cigarette paper or foil and stuff, and that's never a good thing.
Like, I don't really have that many tips and tricks because my rigs are very small and simple for kind of exactly this reason. I don't want to carry a bunch of stuff, especially, driving sort of is a different story, but flying especially, like you just can't.
Particularly, you might get yourself a decent ticket with Jetstar, but then once you add your guitar and then the pedal board...
Oh, yeah, well, what are you trying to charge you an extra $35 just take your guitar on these days, so that's game over, see you later. But, I'd like to, traveling with an electric guitar, I've just got a Telecaster and, maybe 4 or 5 pedals.
Yeah.
And at most, and that's my traveling rig, because when we do festivals and whatever, it's always backline. So,
yeah, great.
So that's always fine. The only thing you sort of run into is, half the time a reverb tank won't work on a backline amp, so you just have a reverb pedal, and that's sort of just a thing that as long as you've got that, you'll be fine. And when I do my own gigs, it's, I'm using an acoustic guitar, and so I just have my acoustic DI and my microphone, and
yeah, cool.
And off you go.
I talk to, in relation to that, so because I do cover gigs for my job, and I very rarely do an original thing just because that's how life is. Most of my and I talk about this with my songwriting, I feel like my songwriting is an antidote to my other musical life. So even things like my vocal attack is a lot quieter, because I don't have to write a song that's shouty. Like, for instance, what I have to play at a gig at midnight on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And even representing that musically, most of the songs too are very much acoustic songs. Whereas at my gigs, even though I do duo gigs, like I have a piezo bridge dropped into my telly, so that I can switch back and forth. And if it needs to rock out, I can rock it out. Or if I want to do a solo, just to add something.
Yeah.
But even though you just said that about, if I'm going, I'm taking my telly, and if I'm doing my own stuff, it's like an acoustic guitar. How do you, so for me, like, it's an antidote. Do you feel your last release was the live EP? It's kind of a mini album?
Yeah. Just, seven
songs with
EP, yeah.
I really like
the banter in between.
Well, the banter's really good. I really liked how you did that, because what was really great about it is that each, and I assume it was planned that way, but each little bit of banter really set up the song beautifully.
Thank you.
It really, it was kind of like you tell us about a life situation that obviously is really easy to relate to, and then you give us a song which is like totally expands it. It's really complimentary. I really dig it. But the question I have about all that, I tend to take a long time to ask a question, is about, do you feel that even this instrumentation of the songwriting is a response to the fact that you go out and you're an electric guitar player so often, and then when you write something, it's like a different... it's like a response to how you are at other times musically?
Potentially. I did the solo singer-songwriter thing because it had been, this sort of idea that had been burning inside for quite a while, and then finally was in a position where I could get it out there and start doing things with it. And I really wanted to do it because I'd been working with bands that had 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people in them, and getting things organized was always a group thing, and it was always like, all right, well, we can do it, but it's got to be on Tuesday 4 weeks from now, or whatever the case may be. And it did sort of start as a response to, well, I've got this fire now, I want to do it now, and I've got this idea, I want to write the song, let's just do it now. And I wanted to be able to write songs and deliver them in a way that I could do it purely by myself, and it didn't feel like it was lacking anything. It didn't feel
cool.
like it's like, oh, I was good, but you know, if you had another player there or if you had a band, it would be cool. Like, I'd always been a big believer in, you know, if the song is good enough, it stands by itself. You take away everything else that's on top of it. If the song is good enough, one person should be able to deliver it to the same effect, if not more, than if you've got 5 or 6 people surrounding you. So, you know, some of my favorite records have just been solo people by themselves, you know, which is why I kind of really wanted to do that with that EP last year and just put it out by myself, just me, you know, Damien Caff, you had on, you know, on the show a little while ago, and Lachlan Bryan, you know, recorded that and did that with me and all that, and produced the songs and stuff. But we just wanted it to be very like, this is what it's like to be at one of my shows, where there's stories, there's laughter, there's songs, and you know, it's not just someone getting up and going, oh, g'day, here's my new song, it's this, and off you go. And and with the stories and stuff before the songs, I'd always kind of felt like listening to a song with no context is sometimes can be like opening up a book, starting on chapter 3.
Sure.
And going, all right, sweet, this is it, but we're missing this part that really kind of puts it into a space. So with those stories, and I still do it at my solo gigs now, but I always try and like just set up just sort of where the song is kind of taking place, so you can get a feel for, because they're all autobiographical. It's all stuff that's happened.
They're highly contextual to their story-ish.
Yeah. And I mean, these are all things that have happened to me, but I'm not the only person that these things have ever happened to. You know, it's thinking about breaking up with girls, you know, and just relationships and traveling a lot, and for whatever reason. But, you know, it's like things that people can always relate to. So if I put it into a certain area, it's like, well, this was what was going on when it happened, and this is the song that comes out of it. So it sort of feels like it's a thing that's like, you know, a 7-8 minute story song, and then move that into another one that sort of makes sense following it from there. So,
yeah, cool. Yeah, it's listening to that answer. I was in a rock band, an original band, 2002-3. We're about to do a reunion gig. Like, we're old enough now to do reunions.
Excellent. Yeah.
And which is really lovely that we're able to do that, because we'll still play. Which is my high school band, for example, like that. Those guys are all really good musos who still play, apart from the drummer who sold his drum kit. It's like, oh no, like he was such a beautiful drummer, and he was just like, life, I just don't play anymore.
Yeah.
My venture out to my first, 2004 album of 11 songs, which is just me and a guitar, was exactly that. I was in this, band, and it was so hard to get 5 people to be at the same place at the same time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make music. Yeah. So, you just ended up going, well, I want to make music with these guys, but it's hard work. So it's like, I think maybe someone once said, you got to have a backup plan with music. It was really interesting. So I became a full-time musician for the first time ever, 2015, when I went back to uni. I was working at a bank, right?
Great.
And I was like, so my story is, I was working at a bank, they made me take annual leave, and I decided to get a dog. So I got the dog the day after annual leave started.
Yep.
On the Saturday, 3 weeks of annual leave over Christmas, hanging out with my new dog, and I went back to work on the Monday, and on the Tuesday I resigned. Like, it was just like, no, I've got to... Because the thing is, like, music had actually always been the backup plan. Like, out of all the jobs I'd ever had and everything I'd ever done, music was there. And so even that, music was a backup plan when my band wasn't able to be, the thing that I really wanted it to be.
Yeah.
That's a good realisation. I'm not sure that I really realised how music was the backup plan. These are great therapy for me, these conversations.
Good. You know.
So I always walk away going, that was a lot cheaper than...
yeah.
Because I always exhaust that, like, whatever is it, 10 or 15 mental health consultations that you get through the government.
Of course, yeah. So these are just like little bonuses.
Yeah, these are definitely what they serve as. Were you about to say something?
No, it's like, plus I just wanted to tour.
Okay.
And that was, I just wanted to travel and I'd been doing it with like Deep Street and with Kylie and this corporate band that I play in. We were traveling a bit but it was always, and still is, like you fly places and you stay in hotels, and which is awesome.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, would trade that for the world. Still love doing it to this day. But I did romanticize and fantasize about just getting in a car and just going for 3-4 weeks or whatever it was.
Yeah, okay.
And doing the truck stop thing and sleeping wherever you could. And, if I had to do that by myself, whatever, but, which I did. And but came across, a guy who very quickly became my best mate, Tom Dockray. And he was at a very similar point where he was like, he got on all these songs, had a couple releases under his belt and just wanted to tour. And so, we kind of met, playing a gig together and then had a few beers and then just very quickly realized that, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about touring and, I ended up quitting my job and, I think I had my final day on a Thursday and then on the Friday we were in the car about to start, I think it was a 2.5 or 3 week run and out in Mildura and swimming in the river and just having a beer in the river and just looking up and it's like 30 something degrees. I was like, this is unemployment. Yeah, I'm pretty okay with this. And,
that's cool. I've never gone the touring route, and I watch folks as yourself with absolute awe because so I wasn't one of the people like after school that I did a gap year, but I stayed at home and worked.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was born in the UK and I came to Australia when I was 10, and so by the time I finished high school, I'd done 6 schools and moved every 2 or 3 years. My thing was I just want to stay still.
Yeah.
And which didn't happen. Like I did move to Melbourne, but I kept every year or two moving house. So like I just was. I didn't want to travel, and I really. But I also think maybe at that time I didn't believe that I was good enough to go and tour.
Right.
Like, and I wanted to be I really wanted to be a band. I didn't think I could be solo. By the time that 2004 doing solo thing came out, like I had a partner and it was like, well, that's not, like that didn't seem feasible to me either. Like I had so many blocks.
Yeah, right.
Like the backup plan kind of idea. It's taken a really long time to get to a point where I can kind of go, no, you can do stuff.
Definitely.
But yeah, little voices still going, that's not for you. That's not for you.
Just do it.
Yeah.
It's and you can do it on as big or a small scale as you want. There's this tour that we're doing at the moment where like satellite touring it. So we'll fly up to New South Wales and do 2 or 3 shows there and then come home.
Yeah.
And we're home during the week, and then we'll go to Brizzy, do the same thing, and then come home. And so there's different ways of doing it. When I do it with Tom, we would we'd go to a pub, we'd sit down and we'd say, all right, what dates do we want to look at? And we'd go like 2-3 months in advance, getting our tuck shop orders in, and then
love it.
And then we'd sit there and go, all right, cool, we want to do the 21st to the 17th or whatever it was. And then we'd kind of just say, all right, well, let's start here and let's go here. So you book that half, I'll book this half, and then let's reconvene in a few days. And then that's just how we'd do it. And we'd play, most of these tours that we're doing, we're playing every night, and that was always how we kind of got our accommodation as well, was always through these shows. Yeah. And we only kind of stumbled on those nights where it might be like a Tuesday night where we didn't have a show and we were in a town that we didn't know anyone, and couple of those situations got a little hairy sometimes, but we always managed to get out of them, and just through the miracle of and social media as well. Like one night we were in Brizzy, and we were heading down to we had a night off. We're heading down to Gloucester, and we needed a place to stay somewhere between like Ballina and Gloucester. So we just put the call out on one of the musician groups that we're a part of, and within 45 minutes we had a place to stay down the coast.
That's awesome.
And the place that we stayed at just managed, it was this amazing, it was the parents of friends of ours from a band in Adelaide, and it was just this incredible couple, and we'd stay there all the time when we come back through the area now. And they come to shows when we're around. They came up to Tamworth to see all of us and stuff, and we've got a few of these sort of relationships that we've forged over the last few years.
That's great.
Like, I call them road mum and dads.
Yeah, cool.
It's just kind of put you up, and we always have great times, and and they do washing and stuff.
Awesome.
We don't ask, they just offer. And when you've been on the road for a couple of weeks or whatever, it's
really it probably serves their purpose. But it was like, we're gonna do your washing because you've been on the road for a few weeks.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like, we're not going to say that you stink. We'll just offer to clean your clothes, and it would seem like we're doing a nice thing, but actually it's the only way.
And we are.
That's true.
You just did. We've both done it during this conversation. We have both returned to our initial conversation referencing our tuck shop orders, which is a classic comedy technique.
The old callback. Yeah.
The old callback. I find it very useful at gigs to reference, something quirky I might have said.
Definitely.
3 song breaks ago. And you have done you ventured into stand-up comedy.
I have.
Of recent times.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it just stemmed from telling the stories at gigs, and those were getting longer and longer, and seem like unintentionally getting funnier, and and I had a few people kind of tap me on the shoulder after gigs and just say, "Hey man, you should think about doing this. This was great." And that happened a few times, and then it happened once with a guy that I didn't know, and he just came up and he was like, "Oh mate, you should really get into some stand-up comedy." He's like, "I did it for 20 years. Like, I think you'd be really good at it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." It's not just a friend saying that I'm funny. This is a stranger who has no obligation to say this to me whatsoever. And it all kind of came at a good time where, the last sort of 3-4 years I'd been touring and playing a lot. And towards the end of last year, it just started to get burnt out. And, mental health was pretty rubbish, and everything was just not great. And I think decided in about October last year that I was like, I need to not tour this much for a little while and just stay home for a bit. But even at making that decision in October still took until after Tamworth in January the next year. So it took until about February before that could actually start to happen. And I think it was at, one of those gigs in February when things were starting to pull back, and the comedy thing was starting to, people was sort of mentioning it a lot, and it was like, well, all right, if I'm going to come off the road for a bit and just stay home and not write that much and just sort of maybe take a breather, I still have that element of me that wants to create stuff and wants to be in front of an audience and wants to, I still needed that outlet. And so comedy just sort of came through from that, where it was something that I could do, that I could just go to these open mic nights on Tuesday, Wednesday and whatever, and just not really tell anyone and just sort of do it and see what happened. And, I didn't even really tell my partner Rose that I was doing it the first one I went to, and she called me when I was on the way home, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, no, I just went to a comedy night." She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Oh, I just was having a look. Did you do it?" I was like, I put my name down, but they didn't call me up. So, and I went the next night, and, she came down, and, but yeah, it was just sort of, it was just another thing that I could start to look at if I was you know, if I was not going to be on the road so much, I could just sort of focus my attention into something else. And, you know, and I enjoyed it, and it was great. And I put on a couple of 50-minute shows, and
that's a long time. That's a lot of material.
It's sort of it is, and it's not it. I mean, it is, but it just, when you're up there and you're doing it, it just flew by so quickly.
Particularly if you've got story based.
Yeah.
Instead of having bits,
that's it. And it was comfortable doing that, because when you're telling a story and you're writing these stories with the ideas that parts of them are funny, and you know, some of it was kind of serious and topical, and, you know, sort of whatever the case may be, but, you know, it's comedy, it's supposed to be funny, so you write these stories in with the idea that these are spots where people are going to laugh, so you kind of, and, you know, sometimes they don't, sometimes they laugh in spots where you don't expect them to at all, and, you know, but when you do it in a story-based way, if they don't laugh, it's kind of okay, because you just keep trucking on to, because you've got another little spot in 30 seconds or a minute where that's going to be the next time. So hopefully you get them then.
Yep.
And if you don't, hopefully you get the next one. And which, you know, makes, I think I bombed a couple of nights, open mic nights, where you do 5 minutes, and had a couple of bombs there, which is, it's interesting. It didn't happen for a while, and then I think I was doing a new bit, did it somewhere on a Tuesday night, and it was great. It went really well. Then just did the exact same thing on a Wednesday night, and just donuts.
Oh, wow.
It's just absolute silence for 4.5 minutes. And it was just kind of cool. Well, what do you do? You know?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Have you seen, there's a TV show, you might not have seen it because it's on Amazon Prime. It's called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
No.
Right. And it's set in 50s New York, Jewish family. And the first episode is this woman's husband wants to be a stand-up comic, and he goes to the club and he performs, and everyone thinks he's hilarious. And then halfway through the show, she sees someone else performing the exact same bit.
Yeah, right.
Right. And she's like, I saw him, but he stole your act. And he's like, well, it's not really mine anyway, it's someone else's. So he's just telling someone else's joke. Anyway, it gets to the end of the episode, he bombs at a club, says I'm leaving you, leaves, and she gets drunk, and it goes down the club, and then stands up, and she is fucking hilarious. Right? And the person who owns the club says, you've got it. The only other person I've seen is Letty Bruce, who's got you are hilarious. So the whole series is about her kind of trying to become a stand-up comedian, but a woman in the 50s, a Jewish background, who's a mother, right? Young woman, and she is, when she stands up in the moment, she's hilarious. But when she tries to come up with things to do, and it's a similar thing as you said. The first couple of things she does, everything, she's great. And then when she tries to do something, put it together, she goes in she doesn't get the same response. She's like, what's going on? That was good yesterday, but it wasn't good there, or in that audience is different. Did you? I'm just relaying that back because what you said is just like watching the show, except you're not a woman in the 1950s.
No,
you're Jewish.
Last time I checked, no.
Yeah. You're not. Do you find? How did you find it was because we put a guitar on me, and quite often people have said at gigs you should do stand-up comedy. I'm it's all the guitar.
Yeah, right.
It's all the fact that I can now go into this, and I feel like it's the juxtaposition of the serious song to the other aspect of my personality, which is I'm actually quite happy and carefree. What was it like taking the guitar off or did you just go, man, it was fun?
It's fine.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
God,
I've got a lot of fear.
Yeah. Just do it. Whatever. No, it's fine. I enjoy being on stage. I'm comfortable being on stage, and comfortable being in front of a room full of people and having a microphone and doing what needs to be done. And it's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about how she was trying to get a raise at her job, and she was talking about all the things that made her good at what she does. And she's in her late 20s, and she was saying that it took her a while to realize that the things that she's good at aren't just normal things that everybody can do.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
She's really good at networking with people and talking to strangers and, talking in front of a room full of people and doing all that stuff. And, she didn't realize that that's just not a normal thing. Like, people are sought after to have those skills.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of like a similar kind of thing where it's like, it's not necessarily that I think that I'm good at these things. It's just I'm fine to do them and I'm okay with doing them. And I don't have, sure, I get nervous to an extent with things, but I can get up on stage in front of a room full of people and deliver whatever needs to be delivered, whether that's, singing songs or playing guitar for someone or trying to tell jokes for 50 minutes,
Right.
If I'm okay to do that stuff and I like doing it, and that is something that not everybody is comfortable doing, and not everybody's good at, the same way that, tell me to do my taxes or my accounts and I'm screwed. I can't do that stuff.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. Interesting you say about your friend, and I sort of I feel like I swing between both the things you described there. Like I've got a stage switch and I've got a one-on-one switch, but I don't have a walk around the venue or switch. I'm on stage, like I am there and I'm me. Like and I'm like, I don't feel like I don't have a stage switch. It's like, oh, I'm performing now. It's like, no, I'm very comfortable. I'm all good. And then stage finishes are like, I need a bit of downtime. Like I can't. A lot of that's come from having a bit of a quiet voice. So, but being in a loud bar over the years is like, I can't talk here. Yeah. Like that's going to kill me for the next set. And I've got 15 sets before the end of the week kind of thing. But I do know what you mean about, and what she said about trying to find, like, it takes a while to work out what you are good at, and if all people are good at that. I'm not good at that bit of, I could happily have a conversation and feel really comfortable, but it's the networking bit, the first instance of having that chat, which I'm kind of I
think that's always kind of tricky. I mean, I'm not good at just going up and talking to someone. If I kind of think that, not that I want something from them, but it's like if it's perceived as it's going to be a networky type conversation, I generally don't want anything to do with it, because I don't want to be perceived as someone who is a networking kind of guy. Like that's just not what I'm into.
Yeah, and I've never walked up to a girl at a bar either. Like same kind of thing. I'm like, it's not. This is not my place. Yeah, to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just and any of the the networking that I've been able to achieve has all just come through just playing shows and just hanging out with people after gigs and just not being an idiot and just be a good dude and hang around with people and become friends, and then and not even to serve an end purpose. It's just because, hey, there's a bunch of people that love music as much as you do and play a similar kind of thing and are, generally speaking, really awesome and nice people and great to hang around with. And then the best gig offers I've got have always come from being at the second, third or fourth bar of the night where someone's like, oh, I've got this thing and my guitar player can't do it, but what are you doing tomorrow? It's like, well, nothing, I'll come and do it. And off you go. And then
that's great.
Then that starts something else, and then all of a sudden you're now playing with that person for a few months or a few years or whatever it is. But it all started because you were both at one place one night, and they trusted your abilities. They knew enough about you to be like, oh, cool, this is tomorrow, and who I had has fallen through. I need someone, so can you do it? And,
cool. Do you know, before we started talking, for me, that's you said living the dream before we started. Living the dream, and I then relayed some story about me waking my girlfriend up in the middle of her dreams, but that thing we were talking about earlier about the backup plan, like a music always being the backup plan, and now I'm that busy earning a living being a musician, which is the thing. which was the goal, and I've achieved it.
Yeah.
But I don't. Now I'm looking at it going, right, so I need to rework this somehow to be the type of musician I want to be, which is actually out playing music with other people and other people's original music. So, because I work as a cover guy, that's how I earn a living.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's great to be living the dream, right? And it's like, well, that's one dream, and now I'm starting to get to a point where I'm establishing the fact that there is another aspect to this that I actually really want to work towards. I'm not suggesting that someone's fake grass is always greener. In that sense, like, you're telling me about that, and the best gig offers come from the third or fourth bar of the night when you're having a chat with someone about. But I'm never free the next day.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't, like, I actually am in a position where I have to send people my calendar, like on a Monday, for the next 6 weeks with the available slots, to book up gigs, because I'm not free on Friday night or Saturday afternoon. Like, it's booked ahead that much, and it's like, that's cool. It's definitely cool because that's how you become a working musician. But certainly the next step is to free up some of that time to be able to kind of just to be at the gig.
Totally.
On Friday night.
Yeah.
At the and afterwards, let's go for a pizza or whatever afterwards, which is, it's interesting. Like, you always get what you've got and go, this is great, but it still isn't exactly, and it never will be, surely.
No, and I don't think it would be good if it was, like, because then complacency becomes an issue, and then you all of a sudden just sit back and go, all right, cool, I'm done, and that urge to drive yourself, you lose that, and then you'll lose everything else very quickly. But like that, in reference to like not being free to do stuff the next day, like I'm a huge fan of the crazy asshole idea where if someone asks me to do something, it's like, well, it's at 10:30 on this night, it's like, oh, I am playing a gig, but I finish at 10:10, so
can I get there?
How do we do this?
Yes.
My brain kind of goes instantly to, all right, let's make this work. What if I give you half my gear and you take that to your gig, then I can take half of my gear and do this one. And then if I get an Uber or if I have someone waiting outside the gig to come pick me up, I can just run straight out, get driven straight to the next one. And if you've got that stuff there.
I have 5 mixing desks and 5 powered speakers for exactly that reason of going, I can do that second gig or even that third one, but I have to get up at 9 a.m. and set up the second one so I can get between. But even that's got to the point where it's like, well, it's still not your scenario because I'm not playing with other people as much. And
but
doing original stuff.
But you just need one of those gigs to be with someone else, and then all of a sudden, then that one thing turns into 2, and then then it starts to snowball. And so when I was playing with like Deep Street, we're doing that a lot, and Kylie were playing a lot, and doing the band thing and playing with a bunch of other bands, and be doing like anywhere from 4 to 7 gigs over a weekend, and like there's a couple of weekends where we was just doing stupid things where like I think I played on Friday night with Kylie at Acme for this David Bowie thing, and then we flew up to Canberra and did a show like at lunchtime in Canberra on Saturday, and then they all came home. And I used to do this a bit when I was traveling with Kylie and like Bombay Royale and Deep Street and whatnot, where if we were flying somewhere for gigs, I would book a solo show in the town that we were going to and just get them to push my flight back by a day.
Right.
Because a return flight is a return flight.
Yeah.
It is always going to be paid for. It doesn't matter when it is. So, I just get them to push it back, and then I'd do a solo gig. So we did the Friday, flew up to Canberra. I did the show at lunchtime, played a show in Canberra that night, flew back first thing Sunday morning, played an afternoon solo show here in Melbourne, and then played in Melbourne at night on Sunday. And that was a thing that I was doing quite regularly. Like doing the same thing but in Adelaide, or the same thing but in Brizzy, and just working out how you can make all of those things work and play. like 5-6 different shows over 3 days in different states
Yeah, cool.
with different people. And
it does speak to, when you were saying before about, we both identify that we have an affinity in lots of areas. And before we started this, you're saying you started photography and you'd really gotten into that, and it was a new adventure, and it was something that was interesting.
Yeah.
And then so to branch therefore into video, and then you've gone, it's not. I don't feel the same way about video as I do photography. It speaks to me of that. Some of us just have this interest in finding out what problem can I solve. Like, and it's like, well, and quite often what we do is we'll create a problem to solve. So, I don't mean like as in a narcissistic kind of way, but in that you go, right, well, I'm going to be here, right, and I'm going to eventually be coming back. Do I have to come back that time? What if I come back that time? I can still get back for the thing I've got to be back for.
Yeah.
And
but I can play another show.
And maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, great. And therefore I've created a problem, which is if I stay, I don't have anything to do. So I solve the problem of creating the gig to do. Right. And then if I've got to get back, I've got to get back in time for the other thing I've already committed to. So I solved that problem. Like, I think, I just see it like I'm quite fond of the idea of like what thing can I create to solve, and very much like what even you were saying about people had told you that you should do some stand-up comedy. People had told my friend Matt and I, you guys should do a podcast, and we've been doing I think it was 70. This week's episode 75, so 75 weeks in a row.
Yeah, right.
And that was right. How do we do a podcast? It wasn't just about. I guess we should record ourselves having a chat. It was like, so what gear do we need? How do you edit it? Where do you load it up to? What do you talk about?
Exactly.
Like, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And do we do cameras? Like what? It was just about what problems can I solve with this new adventure, and that speaks to learning how to play an instrument. It's like, well, the problem is I can't play that.
Yeah.
How do I learn how to do it?
Learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't know that you can't do something until you do it. You try and do it.
Yeah.
And so and especially in today's sort of, music industry, there's not enough money to pay everyone to do all the things that you need to get done.
So you have to have extra skills.
Yeah. You can't just be someone who sings songs. You've got to wear all the hats. You've got to be the songwriter. You've got to wear the hats. You've got to be the songwriter. You've got to be the promoter. You've got to be the booking agent. You've got to be the person who does your online content. You've got to create that content. And, so that's sort of why, the photography thing came about, because I was, I'd started doing this stand-up and I needed to film it, and I needed some promo stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, I don't have money to pay someone to do this. I had a GoPro. So, well, if I sell that, I can buy a camera, like a DSLR camera for the same amount, and then I can film it myself. So I did that. And then I was like, but all the press shots I have are of me with a guitar and me with a giant beard, and that I'd just gotten rid of. So I was like, well, these photos are useless. I need new press shots. Yeah. Cool. I've just bought this camera. I'll take photos of myself and I'll do my own press shots. Yeah. And just sort of started from there, and do my own posters for gigs and just book it yourself and do all of that kind of thing, because no one's going to do it for you unless you've got the capital to pay people to do that, and 99% of us don't. So you always spend whatever money you have in general. So like what are you going to spend it on, and if you're just covering the things that you need to cover. It's amazing you said that. You've got the song Mama I'll Be Fine, and you talk about like selling your gear, like because you've got debt, like, and it, like how often, like I know that I've gone, I got that guitar pedal that's just sitting there doing nothing. I might need it one day. I'm never gonna need it. Nah. Until I sell it. Exactly. And then I'll need it. Yeah. I had like
a whole house full of stuff.
Yeah, I've culled a lot. I used to have a lot of guitars when I was late teens, early 20s. Had a lot of guitars, and then when I started, I've moved quite a lot in the last sort of 10, 15 years, just through circumstance.
Yeah.
It's like I've downsized. Every time I move, I'd still have boxes from the last time I moved. So I just kind of go, cool. I've lived in this house for just over a year. I haven't looked in that box. That's going.
Yeah, I did that when I moved to my house 4 years ago. Yeah, it took a couple of months.
Yeah, well, I just cut off that sort of like sentimentality switch where it's like, dude, it's been in a box for a year and a half. You haven't touched it. You clearly don't need it and don't know what's in there. So whatever. And if it is worth money, then sell it.
Sure.
And if it's not, get rid of it because it's not being used. So, and I sort of had that mentality a little bit with instruments as well. I had a really nice Strat, and I had a really nice, Gibson ES345, and had another Telly that was really nice, and I had a few other guitars. And when I got that, gold and pink Paisley Telecaster, that just very quickly became my number one, and that was what I was using for everything. And it was doing, jazz gigs, corporate gigs, country gigs, funk stuff, you name it, pop gigs. Like, it was all being done just using this guitar and this small pedal setup that I had. And I was like, this is great. I'm getting everything that I need from this instrument. So slowly I just started to offload the other gear that I had, and, sold that Gibson, and that paid for a large chunk of, my first EP that I did. So to me, that seemed a much better thing to have that money. It's like, well, for number one, this is an amazing guitar. It's a beautiful instrument. It shouldn't be sitting under my bed having no one play it. This should be someone's number one.
Sure.
So get rid of it. And number two, that paid a huge chunk of my EP. So that's something quite tangible that, use
so
that.
it lives on musically in your life anyway.
Yeah, and I will have that be like, cool, I did have that guitar, but I didn't use it. It was a beautiful thing, got rid of it, and, paid for the band and mastering and stuff. And
I've done a similar thing, offloading a lot of gear in the last year or so because I've recommitted to my original music.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, I've got to pay for it somehow.
Yeah.
And also I recently watched, maybe about 9 months ago, have you ever seen on YouTube this Premier Guitar and they do the rig rundown?
Yeah.
I love those things. Then there's the Brian May rig rundown, and all his gear, like, he's just had the same setup forever.
Yeah.
And of course, that guitar he built when he was a teenager, the one he plays in everything. Right? And it's like, I built the perfect guitar when I was 17 or whatever it is with my dad, and it's the guitar I still play. It's like 45 years later. And it's just like, yeah, you find... And obviously, I've sort of settled on this Telly with a piezo bridge, and I do have a bunch of pedals to kind of go with that. But yeah, you do realise that you don't, like, 90% of what you do, you just need the one thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's...
Or the one setup for it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's... You go through those phases where, you want to have all the things. You want to have a guitar with humbuckers, you want to have a guitar with 3 single coils, you want to have a Telly setup, you want to have a combination, and then you go through all those things, and then you kind of go, nah, actually I just want a Telecaster. And there's something quite romantic about a Telecaster in the sense that, it was designed in 1949 and they just got it right. It's like the best description I've ever heard is it's just a baseball bat and a chopping block, and you're off. And there's something...
I'll tell you what, I've got a Richie Kotzen Telly, and it is a baseball bat and a chopping block. The thing is so heavy, I cannot hold it. Like, it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I can't do a gig with it. It hurts. It hurts. Like it's that heavy.
Yeah. Les Paul style back problems,
Yeah. People... Well, the thing about the Les Paul, like the Les Paul, at least it sits a certain way, but this guitar is that heavy that it just sits wherever you put it.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't
move.
Yeah. So but I mean, it's an incredible instrument. Like, I'm just small, small and weak.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
but there's...
I can never get rid of that guitar, actually.
Nah.
I think so, yeah.
No, there's something I still find quite romantic about the idea of a Telecaster, and that, in contrast with the Gibson that I had, it was like it sounded amazing. No matter what you did, it just sounded incredible. Whereas with the Telly, you got to fight it a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
You got to kind of wrestle it and meet it halfway, and if you don't sort of give it a little bit, it kind of won't give you much back.
I do find that all the time I'm playing with the volume pot, like all the time, all gig, and which is really great because it just means that you really are playing the instrument, like in the electronics as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the Telly, single volume pot that's not getting in your way the way that the Strats does, and you get it down there and you do those volume swells. I play with the tone pot a lot on the Telly just to make sure everything's kind of.
I don't have one. Yeah, because of the piezo.
Yeah,
I got two pots. I'm aware of the time because this is what.
We could just go
happens.
for days.
Yeah. We're obviously we have a similar path.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that you have a song. I think it's on your first EP. How Things Might Have Been. Mm-hmm. And you have a lyric. Quite often, just some lyric that someone who I've not met, but I know, and I listen to their stuff. And I was just like, I never wrote that lyric, but that is, that's the one lyric that really. I don't wish I'd written it because I don't wish for things that I didn't do, but it's that said exactly so many things that I've tried to write before, but they just never came out that way. So I haven't seen the sunrise since you left.
Yeah, right.
The lyric, I was like, that just. That line just encapsulates so much about how when something changes in your life, and then if that you are able to, if you can, you reflect on it, and go, I just don't live that way anymore. And I remember hearing that when I first started listening to your stuff when you did your live thing, and interestingly, so my last relationship, not the newest one, before that, you used to have blackout curtains, right? So you went in my bedroom and shut the door. It was like, there was a light under the crack in the door and just on the sides of the window. But
classic shift worker.
Yeah. I used to work as a cinema projectionist and a musician. So
done.
And then for 10 years, I had a partner and we had the windows open and the curtains open. It was just once the sun comes up, you wake up. And then my recent partner was a blackout curtain. Is a blackout curtain person too. So one of the things I did when we first got together, as a kind of I know you like to have it dark in the bedroom, is I went and bought blackout curtains and put curtain rails up and stuff like that. It was a great experience because she just had some surgery, so she was in bed while I was doing all this, dropping shit on the floor and swearing. And, it was really quite
hitting your thumb with that.
Yeah, it was quite a bonding experience because I was muttering under my breath and she was laughing at me. It was quite good. But it really, even that, as now my life is back to closed curtains. It's a metaphor, even that, like a verbal metaphor of you closing the curtains on your past. Letting that kind of stuff go. But you were just talking about I haven't seen the sunrise since you left. Now my curtains are closed. I don't see the sunrise. It's just such a great, it's great lyric of it's real and metaphorical at the same time. And I wanted to let you know that really kind of that did what songs should do for people for me. So thank you for that.
Well, no, that's great. It's you rarely do people say things like that. So as a songwriter, if there's one line that hits one person, then done.
That's why you do it. Yeah. And I know that I imagine that was what your response would be because you and I both write songs, and occasionally someone says, "Oh, by the way," and you go, "Oh, really? I didn't think anyone listened."
Which is, and I try and do that as much as I can as well. When someone writes something and I hear it and just be like, "Oh man, dude, that was just awesome," and for whatever reason, and because it's not that we're all seeking validation, but it's just nice when you put so much work into something, and if it does touch someone, it is nice to just get a message or whatever it is every now and again. Just be like, hey, loved that song.
Absolutely. And there is an element of, you're right about that we're not seeking validation, but part of what makes us human is definitely we are always seeking connection. And when someone writes a song and you hear it, in particular when you hear it by yourself and you feel like someone has spoken to you across time and experience that you haven't shared, and they've said something, or it's in a lyric. There's something about that because it's a lyric. It's considered in a way that just general speech isn't. It's been considered and it's been put there for as decided upon,
like laboured over sentences as opposed to just what's coming out.
What comes out. Yeah. Like, and though I'm a real believer in pay attention to the language that you use because words are important, and obviously like I listen to lyrics because I think because I've had the experiences just like this one where that speaks to me and it's spoken to me like I said across time in my own life because like I heard that back when I didn't have blackout curtains and it spoke to me, and now it's just still stuck to me. So,
well, I think a lot of your record, I guess you've got to start somewhere. That part one record, like
2004.
Yeah. See, like I can't remember how that came across me, but I do remember seeing you play in the lobby of a cinema.
Oh, the IMAX gig.
Yeah, I remember going to that because I think we'd been on the same bill somewhere, and I'd been playing guitar with someone, and I think you were playing, but I might have bought your CD, but I didn't talk to you that much.
Yeah.
Because
you were very young back then.
Yeah, like I was playing in bars before I should have been in bars.
Yeah.
So but I remember listening to that record so much because your guitar playing was just amazing across that whole record, and songwriting was great. But I mean, you were singing about girls and breakups and all that kind of stuff, but in a way that wasn't this big grand spectrum. It was like the nitty gritty of like just what it's like to be day to day in a relationship and have that just fall apart against all of your everything that you try and all that kind of stuff. And like none of my friends were really kind of dating that much, and they're all just Catholic school boys being boys and doing parties and all that kind of thing. And I was sort of thinking a little bit further along down the line and listening to your record a lot about being in relationships and not being in relationships, all that shit. And, so
well, you'll love my next album's going to be called.
Yeah,
it's called The Hurt Party.
Oh, great! Jesus.
Now, not all the songs are about that, but it's kind of like as I was talking. I went to played at a wedding on the weekend, and I drove up with a really good friend of mine, and we drove back together. We were 6 hours in the car, and I was just saying about you can't separate any experience in your life from any of other experience once you've had them. Like they're all connected, and they're all. So your opinion about. So I was even talking to my new partner about that kind of stuff. So like, I learned how to be the guy you like from all my past experience. And some of that was because I did some stuff well, and some of that is because I did some stuff poorly. And also, the other people did some stuff well and they did some stuff poorly. And so you factor in the fact that this is a different person. And so you take what you've learned, and hopefully you've learned some good stuff and how to not do the bad things again. Yeah. And you go, right, well, add that to this little kind of, the ingredients that you bring, and we try and to make this work. With the best of hope and intention, and with the belief that you will, as well.
Yeah.
But even that is so that getting back. I know I almost went off on a tangent, but I'm back to the part of what my recovery, I guess, and my rebuilding of my life was. I read this book called Why Won't You Apologise? And it's a psychologist written about people and how they process why, how to apologise, like the process of how to apologise, and what do you do when someone can't see that they should, and all that kind of stuff. And it references the hurt party, so the person who feels aggrieved is the hurt party.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my God, that's like, because we've all had our own, we've all been.
Yeah.
And when you have to go through a process, it's like you have a hurt party. It's like you're having a party and you're the only one there, and like you've bummed out and you've got the 2 bottles of wine open, and it's like you're having a party, but you're hurt.
For your sadness.
Yeah, for your sadness. And it's really important. Like it's really important to recognise even the humour in that of wow, yeah, I can. The other reason I can write this love song, which is a love song, is because I've had a pretty big hurt party.
Yeah, and there's humour in everything, You
God, yeah.
You just need to give it a bit of time before you can start to see it. But just maybe
which is a skill I'm not sure that I have. I usually laugh way too soon.
Yeah, I think I might be the same a little bit too.
Particularly at my own stuff.
Yeah.
I've asked all the questions that I wanted to, and I didn't need to look actually, but I needed to just remember the quote of that lyric.
Fair enough.
And it was really important that I told you that.
No, I appreciate that.
It was good for me, so thank you. Got any crazy Mitch Power words of wisdom before we leave?
Touring, always eye mask and earplugs. Always.
Blackout curtains?
Mm-hmm.
Earplugs?
Portable blackout curtains.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you, have you ever been, had the experience of noise cancelling headphones?
Yeah. Yep.
I was given a pair a year ago for my 40th birthday. And 2 days later, I went to Vegas.
Great.
Holy shit, was they there? That was the greatest gift
mate, they
ever.
are a game changer. Yeah. I got the first set that I bought. I totally got suckered in by advertising on the plane on the magazine on the plane.
Oh, the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was flying back from Brizzy and just cracked out the little magazine, and it had a advertisement for the Boss QC25s or whatever they are. And I was like, oh, noise cancelling headphones. Yeah, that's a really good
would
idea.
Be good.
Yeah, I would love those right now, actually. And, I think it was a corporate gig, so it paid pretty well. And so I think I was at JB Hi-Fi the next day and just bought a set and just changed my life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the
earplugs are different, but yes.
Yeah, totally. Because sleep is it's so hard to come by and so crucial when you're on the road. So, earplugs. Yeah, earplugs and ear masks. Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. But I swear by that for when you're on the road for a little bit. Just means you get that extra kind of couple hours either side, and it's just
That's great. That is good. I certainly don't begrudge anyone for needing earplugs around me.
Well, I also snore a little bit.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So cool. When I'm good and prepared, I'll bring a little bag of earplugs and just be like, if someone's sleeping in the room as well, just be like,
right. That's like having spare toothbrushes at your house for people.
Or like having microphones and mic leads where your spare tire should be in your car.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's in the tire.
So your spare tire.
So I do have a spare tire as well.
Yeah. I'm not, good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
It's been great. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
And it's nice to actually...
We've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you.
Finally in person.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't be put off by my waving goodbye, but I wave goodbye and say, Slaughter biscuits. Instead of see you later.
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right.
It's not mine. It was Renee Smith from high school. She used to say Slaughter biscuits, and I just thought it was the best.
Was that part of her lunch order? Slaughter biscuits?
Oh.
Did she get it in?
Good work.
Got to finish on it.
Very good. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, mate.